Hello and welcome. My name's Angela Davis and I'm the 4am Quilter. Thank you for joining me today. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Today, this video is all about free motion quilting. And I'm learning. I'm in the early stages of free motion quilting. I have been machine quilting my quilts since the very beginning when I first started really getting into the passion of quilting. But I've always used a walking foot and done straight line quilting. And I've been quilting 24 years. So the past several weeks, I've been doing smaller projects leading up to bigger projects. I've done a small baby quilt. I've done a table runner. And I just finished this quilt. And this quilt is approximately about 55 inches by 70 inches. It's a gift for a young teenager. And so I wanted everything to be done by machine, including the binding. I did the binding by machine as well. And I decided to do what I call loop-de-loops, where I literally just cross over lines, do a loopy pattern. And what I did first was I made a sandwich sample. That's my first tip. Make a sample swatch. And it doesn't have to be very big. You know, mine was maybe 10 inches by like 12 inches. And I just took some cotton fabric the same weight as this, and I sandwiched it together, and I adjusted my pressure on my presser foot. If your machine does that, please do so. And I adjusted the tension on mine so that my presser foot, when it lays against my fabric, isn't pressing really firmly, so that I can get a nice gentle glide as I'm doing my free motion quilting. So that's my first tip, do a sample swatch. My second tip is when you have to stop to readjust your hands, you do so with the needle down position. And in the needle down position, you want to stop at a seam or at an intersection where two of your stitching lines cross.
Intersection right here where two lines intersect, or on a seam.
If you get a little jagged edge where you start to move the fabric but you're sort of jerking a little bit and it creates not a smoothness in the flow, but you get like a little point in there in the design, it won't be as noticeable. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, I would say, would have to be definitely the gloves. The gloves give you a much better grip and handle on the fabric. And you have to try out different types of gloves because different gloves have different grips. And the ones that I have here, I got at the hardware store. And it's GRX. And it says Cut Series. So I'm assuming these are used for cutting, you know, cutting different types of materials in woodworking and that sort of thing. But the reason why I like it is they really grip that quilt. This part is very grippy. They were not very expensive. They come in different sizes, but I really like how they fit against my fingers. And I really like how they fit against the wrist. And I should do a little bit of research to find out how cut resistant these are, because I probably could wear one when I'm cutting my fabric to help protect the hand that is holding the ruler in place. So I might do a little bit of research. Other thread, always find threads. The other tip I want to give you is as you're traveling with your hands and adjusting, and you'll see this in the video, as I get a little bit better, I start sort of curling a little bit with my fingertips. And that really helped. Instead of like moving like this, I sort of crawled. And that developed over time as I continued to do the free motion quilting on the quilt. The other thing that I realized while I was doing the free motion quilting is I was depressing the pedal foot as far down as it would go, but my movement as far as moving the quilt and guiding it under the needle slowed down, and that created a tighter stitch length. What I'm doing is I'm pushing my foot pedal all the way as far down as it will go. That increases the speed. But my movements are going to be slower because the slower I move my quilt, the tighter my stitches are, because I do not have a stitch regulator. And that's the other thing that I want to teach you in this video that I'm learning myself, because this is new to me. But I want to share this process with you because I'm learning and I want you to learn with me. Okay, so here I go. Now, in order to do this, I stopped the needle down position, and my needle down position is right at a seam. And I've talked about this earlier in the video. When you stop, try to stop at an intersection where you cross over the line or stop near a seam, because I do not have a stitch regulator on my machine. But I didn't have issues as far as my stitch length because of that. So that's something I learned during the process of creating this quilt. I'm learning right along with you. And in the beginning, I was nervous. Like, I was nervous to start that first section. And I had to sort of narrow my section in the beginning because I thought at first I'd be doing a wider section at a time, but I ended up narrowing it because of the roll in my quilt. As you're quilting, that roll gets smaller, so I might be able to travel a little bit wider depending on where I was at in the quilt. I started in the middle where the roll was largest in my throat area of my machine, and I started out, well, I ended up doing 2 squares and just going all the way down the length of my quilt, and then as I shifted and unrolled, that width widened. So my advice to you is start in the middle so that you can get that first pass done. And then as you shift it, that roll gets smaller under the throat under that area of your arm of your machine. And then you can widen your area where you're free motion quilting. So I'm going to concentrate on, this is about a 4-inch width. And I'm just working straight down. So that's about what I can do given the size arm that I have on my machine. So we are learning together. And I have to say, if you are intimidated by free motion quilting, please don't do what I did and wait this long. Start on maybe 2 or 3 projects that are small, a baby quilt, some placemats, a table runner, and then dive right into it. And because I have to say, once you get in the zone and you start seeing the design come across the quilt, I could not believe how good that felt. That's the lighter pink that showed up more. As I got more confident, my loops got smoother and my transitions, moving my hands, got a lot smoother. And once I got into it and I sort of found a groove, it almost becomes motion memory. And you're just in the moment. And I'm telling you, I don't know why I waited this long to practice free motion quilting. It is a delight. I mean, these loop-de-loops were just so much fun. I'm gonna come back over here where I use that light pink thread and you can see it more. Some of my loop-de-loops were, you know, not the best, but I'm okay with that, you know? And then I got back into the gray. I am going to be doing, I think from now on, 90% of my quilting, free motion quilting, to improve my skills and to improve my design elements so that I can practice more design elements. I can honestly say, why did I wait so long? Why did I allow the fear to prevent me from doing this creative process and enjoying my quilting? Now, are my loops all perfect? Are my loops all perfectly circular? No, it's my first large quilt. But overall, when you stand back and look at it, nobody's going to notice that this little loop is smaller than this little loop, or maybe this little loop has a point on the end of it. No one's going to notice it. So I have another string. Oh, geez. All day long, I'll be doing that. All day long, I'll be doing that. So I have to say, I'm going to be continuing this journey with you in my free motion quilting and exploring and learning and perfecting my free motion quilting. And I want to share all of that with you in the future with each project that I do. Because I have to say, the joy that I got out of this does not compare to the straight stitching that I always did using my walking foot. And in the past, I avoided this type of quilting. The fear set in. So learn with me. I'm really, really, really happy with it. And thank you for joining me and experiencing this with me, because that's the whole point, you know, is me. This YouTube video isn't just about me teaching you. It's about me teaching me and exploring areas of my quilting that I've never done before. So this channel is challenging me to explore sides of my quilting, my piecing, that I need to either A, explore more, or B, explore for the first time, because that's how we grow. And unfortunately, when we get comfortable with something, in order to grow, you have to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to say to yourself, well, I fear this because I've never done it. But if I can just take that first step, like I did with this larger quilt, I can tell you from experience what fun it was and what I learned from it. So this is all about us learning from each other. And I learned from your comments. And I take those comments and I read all of them and I try to respond to all of them. I take those comments, I read them, and, you know, if you have something to share with me and I can share back, absolutely, absolutely. I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy that. So with that being said, I'm Angela Davis. I'm the 4am Quilter, where I share, care, and create with you. And why sleep when you can sew? Have a great day. Like and subscribe. You enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. Have a good one. And thank you so much for joining me on the journey of this quilt and the free motion quilting. And please join me again, because I'm going to be doing a lot of free motion quilting in the future. I'm really, really, once I got over that fear, I want to hit the ground running now. I'm so excited. Little hug from me to you. Bye.